Well, hola, bon dia, Carl Munson here. Good morning, friends, fellow expats, and new friends here in Portugal. Very heartened to see more and more Portuguese people watching the Good Morning Portugal show, and of course, the Portugal show in the evening. Good session last night with my favorite science person and my favorite faith person, if I can put it like that. Donna Jacqueline was with us from the faith angle. And Will Thompson, remember him? Thompson Tuesdays we used to do, keeping us up to date with the pandemic in the early days. Thompson was back in the virtual studio last night, and we had a fabulous discussion about how to take best care of ourselves physically, mentally, spiritually in these challenging times. And you can see that again on our YouTube channel. So this morning, I don't think I did a very good job yesterday of explaining to you what you can and can't do with the new limited state of emergency measures. And by that limited, I mean limited to some municipalities, 191 of them. That will change as the data changes in and around the country and in the various municipalities. Some will be joining that list. Others will be putting that list behind them, fingers crossed. So I didn't do a very good job of that yesterday. It ended on a confused note rather than a note of clarity. So let's see if we can do any better today. How are you? Where are you? How are you connected to Portugal? Let me know, please, in the comments. And I'm aware that I need to set up the day for you as well with a little bit of Portuguese lingo. So, quarta-feira, let me just change that for you, and then we can put it across the bottom of the screen. Quarta-feira, 18, dia 18 de novembro. Let me just get that on the screen now so that is etched in your memory. Quarta-feira, dia 18 de novembro. Yes, do let me know how it's going for you with your Portuguese. Have you signed up to Mia Esmerez, one of our favorite language teachers? Have you signed up to her free course? See if I can find that link for you before the show's out. Well, there you go. Quarta-feira, dia 18 de novembro, today. And let's have a look at today's weather, shall we? A few comments coming in, people tuning in via Facebook and, of course, more recently, YouTube, becoming a very popular way to consume the show. 14 degrees, partly cloudy in Lisbon this morning, rising to 22, and those promised days of sunshine look intact, folks, right through until next Tuesday. And 25 degrees is going to be the high tomorrow in Lisbon. Isn't that great? And 5 sunny days straight are forecast. Wonderful news. Porto, 15 degrees, mostly cloudy currently, rising to 21 today. Cloudy day, just like in the capital, but then 6 days of sun. A bit unusual for Porto, isn't it, for this time of year, with a high of 22 in amongst all of that sunshine for the next 6 days, starting from tomorrow. Coimbra, similar picture. Only Faro letting the side down, actually. A similar picture in Coimbra, 12 degrees at the moment. Let's have a look out the window, partly cloudy, and mist in the rolling mist in the valley. Looks amazing and moody out there on this autumnal morning here in Anadia. I'm actually in the Aveiro district of Portugal, but we tend to get the weather that corresponds to Coimbra because we're only about 25 minutes away from Coimbra as well. 24 degrees will be the high today. It will remain partly cloudy, but 24 degrees tomorrow and 6 days straight of sunshine. I get some stuff done in the garden. Fantastic. Faro, hang out with me chickens a bit more. That's great. 18 degrees, partly cloudy, and 22 the high tomorrow. 23 on Thursday. Sorry, it is Thursday tomorrow, isn't it? 22 degrees the high today, 23 on Thursday. And a nice weekend, actually. But still, the best temperatures are in central and in the capital for the next week or so, it would look. So there you go. There's your weather. And I think it's important for us to have a look at how we're doing with this, with these new measures, as we are in the, have they called it the soft state of emergency? Yes, the soft state of emergency here in Portugal. A few of your comments before I go any further, though. Straight in, as usual, as is the habit now. Safiro in Porto, our resident Portuguese fella. Bom dia from Safira up there in Porto. Good morning to you, my friend. Hope you're doing well. Tudo bem? Olá, bom dia, tudo bem? From Filomena Pascal as well. Talking of our favorite language teacher, she's another one. Filomena Pascal, she's whereas Mia does the online teaching, Philomena does one-to-one, which some people prefer, understandably as well. So Trips for Brits is where you find Philomena on Facebook. Yes, and I will find you the link to Mia before we leave today. I hope you're doing well, Philomena. Tudo bem? E consigo? Bom dia from a bright Cabanas this morning. Itchy or what? Mozzies are nasty at the moment. They are, aren't they? You would have thought, and this perhaps is not a bad moment to ask for a few remedies of you native Portuguese people. How do you deal with it? Because Paul is fairly new to settling in Portugal, probably not expecting mosquitoes in November. But saying they're pretty nasty at the moment. So he's very itchy. What should he do? Not only to avoid them, but what's the best way of dealing with the itching, folks? If you've got any tips, pop them in the comments. That'd be awesome. Helen's here as well from Thailand. How fantastic. I am studying all the Portuguese food first in the Portuguese language. That's a good start. Makes one hungry, though. Absolutely, Helen. Good morning to you. Hola, bon dia from Alvazra in La Area. Yeah, all right, Gary, I got it. I thought it was Santarém yesterday. Are you on the border there? Because Santarém is the district for Tamar, isn't it? But there you are, Alvazra, everybody. Just so everyone knows and get that right, Alvazra is in the district of La Area. Of Portugal. Graça is here as well. Good morning to you, Graça. Actually, just eating a little bit of the cake you made for young Solomon. My son was 2 yesterday. Bom dia a todos, says Graça. Que o sol brilha em todos. So I'm thinking, may the sun shine on everyone. That's a beautiful greeting in Portuguese. Write that down, folks, if you're studying the language. Que o sol brilha em todos. And Owen Lloyd Martin, hola bon dia from Vaquinhas this morning. Good morning to you, Owen. Great fun hanging out with you in the man cave. Okay, so that was, don't write that down. It needs explaining. It's bon dia a todos que o sol em todas almas. So may the sun shine on all your souls, I think. How beautiful. Looking forward to talking with Seth again. Cefairo, as it not SEF, the Bureau of Estrangeiros, but Seth. Yeah, we want you in there. We invited Will last night to join us in the man cave. He was asked by our other chap from America, Charles, to say, yeah, get Will in the man cave. So Will might be joining us with his really excellent view, I think, on the very all-round view on the COVID situation, the pandemic and the politics and all of that. So hopefully, yeah, we're in for a good session on Friday night. If Sapphira joins us and Will as well. So yes, Gary's right. Looking forward to talking to you again, my friend. Owen, lavender tea for Mozzies. Okay. Yeah, well, that sounds nice, doesn't it? It sounds very relaxing and very, yes, but internally and externally. It sounds like a good shout there, Owen. So there you go, Paul. An instant suggestion for you from Vaquinhas, from Owen. Bon dia, pa, from Telma Raposo. Now, I'm not familiar with that greeting. Does that mean, is she sort of referring to me as like Pops there? In a very, nice but familiar way. Bon dia, pa. Tell me more, Telma or any other Portuguese people, what that might mean. And bon dia from Ericeira, from Gail. Good morning, Gail. Great to hear from you as well. So let's see how we're doing with how it worked out from Portugal news for a change. The first weekend with curfew went very well, apparently. You've all done very well. Let's see what was reported and said about this. Going to the Portugal news, one of 2 English language news sources in Portugal. Come back to you, Vara, in just a moment. But yes, so first weekend with curfew went very well. And of course, as I've said, I didn't do a very good job of clearing up confusion yesterday. I think I take some responsibility for that, but also I think it is very confusing at the moment. But let's see what we can do together. And any help from you is obviously welcomed. 2 people on a bus there, one of them looking like a police officer. That's a real sign of the times, isn't it? An empty bus. But one of the 2 passengers is a police officer, just making sure things are going okay, I guess, in these times. The Director General of Health has stated that during the first weekend with curfews in Portugal, things went very well, saying that the Portuguese were able to adapt to the new restrictions. Once again, we were able to incorporate relatively simple measures. I think relatively, the emphasis on relatively there, and comply with what was stipulated, said Graça Freitas during the press conference. about the COVID-19 pandemic in Portugal. For the Director General, the 2 days with curfew starting at 1 o'clock in the afternoon. Because, yeah, this is the big news. And that's not really a curfew because you can actually still go out. But anyway, yeah, it starts at 1 in the afternoon. That's what you need to be aware of in more municipalities this coming weekend. The 1 o'clock until and there was some more confusion actually. Is it 5 the next morning? Is it 8? I'm going to go with 5. For the Director General, the 2 days with curfew starting at 1 in the afternoon went as expected, and the eventual risk that the measure would increase the concentration of people in spaces was not verified. Yeah, that was something that occurred to me. If you restricted the flow of people, obviously when they are allowed out, they're going to be focused and concentrated in places, and you don't want that. But anyway, looks like it went well. It's just adapting to a new way of being in the coming weeks. I do not think that any situation has occurred that has put the population at special risk, she explained. Asked about the actions to contest the measures of the state of emergency due to the impact they have on some sectors of the economy, namely restaurants and culture, Graça Freitas underlined the freedom of people to speak out. Excellent. But we would like this freedom to be exercised safely, she added, commenting on the non-compliance with physical distance and the use of a mask by some people during the protest due to the new restrictions. And that was especially, wasn't it, with restaurateurs, I think, in the capital and in Porto. And you can understand why they're really anxious and upset. Their industry is being, well, killed off, isn't it, by this whole situation. Restaurants are only allowed to be open until 1 p.m. during the weekend in stipulated municipalities, which has considerable losses to the sector. You are not kidding there, Portugal News Online. So, yeah, it would appear on the official DPN and Lusa news there. The Portugal News, along with the Lusa news agency, it went very well, according to Graça Freitas. And let's come back and see who's here this morning. But after this, I will look at it's an old article, but I think it's got the information we require. State of emergency, latest restrictions from the Portugal resident to clear this up. Together, we can do this, folks. Oh, this is interesting. Bon dia, pa. I'm going to start using that. But anyway, Vara Chetty, sorry. It's me that's chatty. It's you that's chatty. Bon dia, Carl. Practicing my Portuguese from a very dull, windy and wet Cornwall. That's quite a picture, Vara, isn't it? Talking Portuguese. Are you trying it down the local pub, or are you allowed to go to the local pub? Yeah, that's a poetic picture, I think, of practicing Portuguese in Perranporth, if I continue that alliteration. Don't know if that's where you are in Cornwall. But good luck, Vara. Mosquitoes are very cultured. By Owen, they drink lavender tea. Yes. It's a very nice. I wonder if Owen gets his best china out to drink his lavender tea. It does sound very posh, doesn't it? And a bit sort of ladies what lunch over there in Vaquinhas with Owen. I can imagine though, hit with his little finger out, drinking on his lavender tea of a morning and an early evening, obviously, when the mosquitoes are on duty. Ok, Telma, é uma expressão muito comum in Portugal. Okay, bom dia. I'd never heard it, but that's because I suppose people don't talk to me in a familiar Portuguese way. But bom dia, pá, which I think is like fella, mate, isn't it? But it is used now to both boys and girls. It's a rather informal way to say pal or mate. Pa. So there you go. That's nice to know, isn't it? Because I used to really dislike that in England when people used to call me mate. And this is probably when I was in my 40s, and I'd have young fellas calling me mate, and I'm thinking, look, for one thing, I'm older than you, and I'm not your mate. Why are you calling me mate? I know that makes me sound like a real fuddy-duddy guy, doesn't it? But it took a while to get used to being called mate in the UK, and now I do it with people as well. Oh, mate, you're right. And I've accepted it, and now it looks like it's the same in Portugal. So pa is what we need to say if we want to use that term of endearment, short for rapaz. Excellent. There's something we've learned this morning. Mustafa Bashta. Hi, bom dia. I am from India. Can you or someone guide my daughter who would like to study a master's in media-related courses in Portugal in the English medium in 2021? Well, you can see on the ticker tape at the bottom there, Mustafa, always the best place to start. get to know a few people, get some information, join the community at expatsportugal.com. Take it from there, my friend, and we'll do all we can to help you. I should say pa, shouldn't I, rather than my friend? Both, I think, applicable there. So yeah, Mustafa, jump on there yourself, or get your daughter to join up with us. Friendly community, and I'm sure people will be very forthcoming if they have experience in that area. Hola, bon dia from Wayne. How are you doing, Wayne? Interesting profile pic I noticed with friends on Facebook, and I wondered who is that in the picture there? Owen. Oh, dang, you got me. I always use the best china. For tea. Fantastic, Owen. I can see it. We can see it. And then when we come round to your man cave, it's going to be a little bit different, isn't it? Joining you for a nice cup of lavender tea when the man cave go on tour and come over to Vaquinhas. Can't wait to do stuff like that. All right. The connection to Mia going into the comments now to learn Portuguese. Philomena, do pop in your link as well, because different styles for different people. Philomena, I'm sure, per her details, she's been very helpful to us here on the show. For that, we're forever in your debt and very grateful to you, Philomena. And of course, the Mia's link is there as well now in our business directory over there at expatsportugal.com. Incidentally, yeah, if you pay the paltry fee of €25, you get access to a load of discounts. And my colleagues, but it's mainly Astrid, actually. No disrespect to Jerry, but with Astrid, she is bringing together more and more great partners to help people move to Portugal and to enjoy life in Portugal. And the premium fee, €25, gets you some big. You save that on just dealing with some of our folks in some of the professionals in the directory. Talking of which, we welcome back Daniel Reyes tomorrow, talking about the golden visa. I know a few of you are secretly loaded here in a money sense. If you want to know more about the golden visa, or you want to ask for a friend, as it were, come join us tomorrow evening on our Portugal Calling webinar with Daniel Reyes from Reyes and Pelicano. Crusty old Carl, how rude is that? I can let Gary get away with that. He's good pal. He's a pa to me. You'll always be a pa to me, Gary Austin. But yeah, do you think that's me being a bit crusty there, Gary, by being offended by being called mate by young fellas? Hold on a minute. Paul is asking a question about lavender tea. So do we drink lavender tea or splash it all over? Can't imagine Henry Cooper or Frank Bruno splashing lavender tea on themselves. Who knows? It could be quite soothing on a black eye, I suppose, couldn't it? If you get punched in the ring, so to speak. Careful, Gary. I don't know. I'll let Owen answer that. About what I assumed it was both. You drink it and splash it over yourself if you want to. The same way I hate it when they call me old man. Yes, actually, when you get older, you probably want to be called mate, don't you, rather than old man? What's the Portuguese for that then, Safiro? Sorry, you're making me giggle. Yes, what's so? Would some people call you vovó then, as well as pa? Let's see. And a link. Mosquito reviews, mosquito repellents, lavender. Awesome. That's great stuff. Thank you, Owen. Lots of resource in the comments then. And a thanks to Owen from Paul. Tripsforbrits@gmail.com for Philomena if you want to get a bit of one-to-one language action. My Facebook photo is my parents and grandmother. Fabulous photograph, Wayne. All dearly missed. I usually randomly select, so we'll choose some Portuguese-themed shots at some stage. Yeah, I suppose when people come on to here and put a comment in the comments, they don't expect me to be commenting about their Facebook profile pic, but sometimes they're very interesting, as is Wayne's there. Beautiful picture there, and with people you love in it, Wayne. That's fantastic. Veliot is old fella, I suppose, isn't it? Veliot. And tell us, Safiro and Philomena, Veliot, would someone be offended? Because in the UK, I have been known to refer to older guys as pops, and as a term of endearment. Because in Portugal, it's more evident. A lot more older fellas around and about, and friendly down the cafe, sat outside or whatever on the benches. And you want me to say hola? If I were to say hola, bom dia, tudo bem, velot, would they try and get up and punch me, or would they accept that as a nice thing to say? Do let us know. Okay, clarifying confusion now. This might take a little while. Need your help on this. It is somewhat dated, but I think it's among the best resources I can find. State of emergency, latest restrictions, and I suspect the Portugal resident will have amended this article if necessary. And they say, wrapping your head around the latest restrictions that have been announced for Portugal's high-risk municipalities, now up to 191, including 8 in the Algarve, can be a daunting task. Let me just have a sip of tea. I usually mute the mic there. Hopefully you didn't hear any slurping. At least I'm not tucking into the piece of chocolate cake that's in front of me. I've eaten the beautiful sponge cake, a vegan, I suspect, that Donna Grassa made, and I'm going on to the chocolate cake made by our other virtual grandma here in Portugal. Thank you to Dee for that one. To help you understand exactly what you can and cannot do, depending on where you live in Portugal, the resident has compiled a list of all the current state of emergency restrictions that are in place until. So this is what we're up against. It will be going through until November the 23rd, just before midnight. Okay, November the 23rd. I should tell you what day of the week. Yeah, on the Monday. So it sounds like it includes the Monday, but anyway, the big weekends obviously are the thing that have been the biggest challenge to people. Another one coming up of the 21st and 22nd of November with these 1 o'clock starts in the afternoon of the curfew. So they say the information here was taken directly from the government's COVID-19 website. Very useful and well-structured site, but only partially available in English. So they've done what they can to translate it for you here. And I'm doing my best to share that so that you can hear me get confused rather than get confused yourself. And because I don't know about you, but when I start reading through these things, I think, and then you can do that, but you can't do that. And then you realize you're only about 1 page into it, and it's like 3 more pages of the stuff. So anyway, let's see how we get on here. Following restrictions apply to the 191 high-risk municipalities and will remain in place until November the 23rd. I'm thinking I should put the link to this in the comments as well. Oh, Prosecco Peggy's here, everybody. Raise a glass to Prosecco Peggy. I don't know if she's on the fizz already this morning, but why not? You know, a nice little mimosa to start the day. Come back to you in just a moment. Sounds like I might get a punch as well for calling somebody Villiot. Okay, I'll come back to that as well in just a moment. Let's stick with the serious stuff for just a moment. But the link to the article is now in the comments, because you might want the list of 191 municipalities that they link to in case you didn't know if you were in one or not, or if for some reason you're endeavoring to travel to one. Which has also been a question for people. So all of this will remain in place till November the 23rd. In the 77 boroughs that were just added to the list, the restrictions came into force on November the 16th. So commerce, weekend restrictions. These measures will be in place the following 2 weekends. So that's so for the relevance here of your lives, just now for the 21st and 22nd of November, this coming weekend, all commercial establishments will close at 8 a.m. Sorry, will open. I'm not helping, am I? All commercial establishments will open at 8 a.m. and close at 1 p.m. This is the weekend, except for the following: pharmacies, clinics, and doctors' offices, commercial establishments selling food and hygiene items. And these establishments are up to 200 square meters. This is what Joe was pointing out yesterday. Thank you. That have their entrance door directly onto the street, and petrol stations as well. Although petrol stations not selling booze anymore. Restaurants must close by 1 p.m., serving only takeaways until then, after which they're only allowed home deliveries. Establishments that already opened up before 8 a.m. can do so, such as bakeries. Yes, there will be hell to pay if the bakeries are affected in this country, and quite rightly so. Support measures for restaurants. To help restaurants face the difficulties created by the limitations imposed on circulations, the government will pay 20% of the restaurant's lost receipts over the weekends, those 2 weekends, last and the coming one, taking into account the average of the past 44 weekends. So, the obvious difficulty there is the restaurants will be paid on what they declared. We know, don't we, that, Okay, I'll move on. Stay-at-home curfews. Curfews are in place between 11 p.m. and 5 a.m. on weekdays. So it's 5 a.m. and between 1 p.m. and 5 a.m. on Saturday and Sunday. This is the key bit of information, isn't it? And then also, the other thing was, what are the exemptions? And I think we've just covered them there. But this means that people must stay indoors during these periods, but there are some exceptions. And this is like, when is a curfew not a curfew? It's not a curfew when you're traveling due to professional or similar reasons, which will require a statement signed by an employer by themselves in the case of self-employed workers, individual entrepreneurs, and members of governing bodies, traveling for health reasons, traveling to provide emergency fostering to victims of domestic violence or human trafficking, quite rightly so, traveling to provide assistance to vulnerable people with disabilities, children, parents, elderly, and other dependent individuals. So you can support those people. Traveling to fulfill parental responsibilities, going outside for a short walk. And that's good to know, isn't it? Or for dog walking. So you can go for a walk and you can walk your dog. Traveling to commercial establishments selling food and hygiene items up to 200 square meters that have their doors directly onto the street. Traveling due to vegetarian emergencies. Can you imagine if you're saying you've misread this and you get stopped, and what are you doing? I'm traveling due to a vegetarian emergency. It happens. I mean, if you're a vegetarian, I'm not knocking it, but it actually is a veterinarian emergency. Traveling to exercise freedom of press. Yes. Traveling for other reasons of force majeure, and obviously returning home. You need to be able to return home. The following people, there's a list of people who don't have to provide a written statement. So I suspect it helps if you have a dog collar on or a diplomatic bag in those circumstances. And meanwhile, some of the restrictions that were already in place will continue to be enforced. Citizens, this is the bottom line, okay? Because whilst we get into the restrictions and what you can and can't do, we're forgetting why we're doing it, aren't we? Possibly. And the spirit of this is to stay at home as much as possible. And actually is actually quite a nice reframe. This is how we did it with the first lockdown. It's like, okay, we're being asked to stay at home. Let's make the most of staying at home. And it's the same again, I think. Citizens should stay home as much as possible. Events and celebrations are limited to 5 people unless they belong to the same household. Remote working, as long as their position allows it, they have the conditions to do so, and essential services aren't at stake. Remote working is mandatory for companies working in these municipalities and for workers who live or work in these municipalities. And there's a few more things for workers, perhaps not so relevant here in the retired expat community. Actually, I'm not sure of the demographics in this group, but you get the gist anyway. If you can work from home, you should, which is exactly what I'm doing. I can't be doing any outside broadcasts, which actually, when all this is over and put behind us, I am looking forward to getting out on the road again and doing the show from other parts of Portugal. If you want to put your name down, you've got a local cafe or something like that, or a town square, we can do the Good Morning Portugal show from. I'd love to come and do that. Workplaces with 50 or more workers should see their employees come in for work or leave at different times. Yeah, mix it up a bit. Commercial establishments, during weekdays, commercial establishments must close at 10 p.m. And the exceptions here are pharmacies, clinics, doctors' offices, funeral homes, petrol stations, and car rental establishments. Restaurants, during weekdays, restaurants must close at 10:30. Groups limited to 6 people, except when they belong to the same household. Fairs and markets. Yeah, this was a concern for me. I've got a market just up the road on a Saturday here in Anadia. Fairs and markets are prohibited, except when authorized by the local mayor and when security conditions and recommendations are defined by the DGS are respected. So your market is not necessarily going to be on. Ours was, I think, an exception, or proved itself to be an appropriate activity. Cultural establishments must close by 10:30 p.m. Okay, and then there is a list of municipalities not included on the high risk list and what you can and can't do there. The gist here, isn't it, is stay at home as much as possible, I think, and especially between 1 in the afternoon and 5 in the morning in this coming weekend. You can see, the thing is now, if I start reading more about these other municipalities, it's going to get confusing again. But I hope that helps. The link is there to these measures for your perusal at a later date. Okay, so hopefully helpful. And Gary saying, how to win friends and influence people. Don't take Carl unless you want to end up in a fight with an old fella. I want to know what to say, what not to say in this circumstance. Well, I've got to read this now to make sure I don't get myself in trouble with some older men in the street here. Je say Manuel da Costa Diogo. Diogo, good morning. Good morning, all from England. All good here, still alive and kicking. That's the main thing, Diogo. Or may I call you Zay? Pa. And definitely will get a punch if I call the old guys Veliota. Don't do that, anybody, please. They may punch you, both from Sapphira and Philomena. Oh dear. Bon dia, Carl from Prosecco Peggy. Peggy there in the south. Great day for a Prosecco, better than tea. I'm thinking it's not good though for the mozzies though, because the mosquitoes do like a bit of alcohol, don't they? And your histamines are affected, aren't they, when you start drinking? So we'll have to factor that in as well. Or a sort of Prosecco and lavender cocktail, maybe. You'll have to get that tea jingle, fee jingle. What is that, Gary? Which jingle is that we're talking about there? That you want me to play? It got me little by little jingle. Going to run down to get Prosecco by the case for the for the lockdown. You also Prosecco Peggy and Lockdown Littrell is here, everybody. Good idea. Good shout, Peggy. Bon dia from Thomas Malfa. Good morning to you, Thomas. Good to have your company this morning. Is it Zay or is it Diogo? I now last year went to Lagos in the Algarve, was having my morning coffee, and came two ladies ask for wine, I think that is, maybe, and custard tarts. Yeah, come on. It's the least you could do is learn the phrase pastel de nata, don't you think, Diogo? These ladies you refer to, come on, pastéis. So yeah, that's a really easy bit. When your life depends on these things, like having a custard tart, you should learn the lingo. Have you heard about a potential app or program that can hear the sound of your cough and analyze it with 98% accuracy for COVID? Imagine the potential. Imagine my show being shut down, basically, Will. I'm thinking there. It was really bad a few weeks ago. I was coughing, and each time I coughed, I was thinking, oh no, they're all going to think I'm sick and poorly, and I've come down with it. And I'm so self-conscious now when I cough, and I don't want that app running in the background of Facebook, do I? Comes up on your Facebook feed. You may have COVID symptoms. Judging by your cough, please report to your nearest medical facility now. 10 seconds to comply. No, Will. No, thank you. How to win friends. Yeah, that's me ending up in scraps with old blokes. Gary, you're enjoying that a bit too much, I think. Prosecco counts as fruit. Yes, of course it does. Fizzy fruit in a glass. Excellent, Peggy. I am here with residency. There we go. Anna, in my motorhome looking for a new home. Have you any advice on how far, if anywhere, we can move around? Now, this is what happens, isn't it? These are the long grass and the grey areas of these things. If it's urgent that you need to find a home, I would say that's a justifiable cause, and it's about striking the right sort of balance, isn't it? So, if it were me in that circumstance, I would sit tight as much as possible and sit it out and find a really nice place to do that. Obviously, that's the first thing, isn't it? Is to get a base where if you aren't able to move, you're in a good spot, you're in a good place. And then if you are, there comes a time when you can't live in your motorhome forever. So obviously that becomes something of an emergency to find somewhere. What I would suggest there is doing the research on a place you want to go to and view, and making sure all the right measures are in place to do that. Okay. And then have on your phone the translation of that. This is where I'm headed. This is the reason why. But sort of bimbling about the country, moseying about in a sort of fairly directionless way, in a sort of more touristy way, would probably not be looked on as well as, I have found this place. This is where I need to go and have a look to see if that's my actual home, and have that translated and on your phone and available. Be prepared and look willing. It would be my suggestion. It's just a personal opinion. It's not the law by any means, but that's what I would do. I don't know what other people think. There for Anna, and good luck to you with your search, Anna. And it's funny, isn't it? In many ways, you're already living the dream, aren't you? Being in a motorhome in Portugal, but these circumstances have changed all of that. So good luck with your search, Anna. Good morning, all from Gemini. Good morning, Gemini. How are you this morning? Oh, the tea jingle. Yes, of course. I haven't got my glasses on, says Gary. I'm finding that more as well. And when I've heard about how expensive glasses are, spectacles, no nurse, I said remove his spectacles. When I hear how expensive spectacles are in Portugal, it doesn't encourage me to go and get my eyes tested. But I know I'm going to have to do that soon because I'm becoming a bit of a velhot myself in that department. Yes, the tea jingle. So something to play in the background. It still could be the Four Seasons, couldn't it? Put you on hold while I sip my tea. We'll see. Sapphira, the secret to fight mosquito bites is to apply vinegar to exposed body part areas. Makes a change from links, that does, Sapphiro. And I'm not sure. Oh, hold on a minute. He's only kidding. But I suspect that would work. It would repel most other people as well, wouldn't it? If you want a quiet drink on your own, you get to sit in outside the cafe or even in your own home. Probably few people would want to sit next to you, including mosquitoes. But thank you for that homespun advice. Excellent. Hola, bon dia, Carl and the GMP crew. Check you out. Andrew, good morning to you over there in Australia, I believe. I heard it on the very reliable Late Show with Trevor Noah. This is about how Prosecco is fizzy fruit in a glass, I suspect. Thank you, Peggy. People say the cough is like no other. You know when you have it, but some shoes almost. Well, but some shoes, but some show almost never symptoms. Yeah, it's a tricky one. It's a tricky customer we're dealing with. Obviously, the Algarve is a fantastic place to park. Anna, suggestion to you. That said, wild camping has been clamped down upon, hasn't it? You need to be in designated areas, ideally there, Anna. So basically, don't go out if you can. If you want to, and in lockdown time, you can definitely go out, unless you have one or more of 25 reasons. Yes, Gary, that is true, and that's why it got a bit confusing. I'm giving you the official line, but I showed you, I described that cartoon yesterday, didn't I? The policeman stopping someone, say, "What are you doing?" "Oh, I'm just coming back from the market." "What are you doing?" "I'm just coming back from the bakery." And "What are you doing?" "I'm walking the dog." And eventually the policeman says, having said at the beginning, "Okay, everybody go home." At the end, it's like, "Everybody except everybody go home." So, but you get the gist, and we're just, stay at home if possible and enjoy yourself if possible. Let's have a look. Yes, that you've nailed it there, Gary. I think. And Joe Johnson, hola, bon dia. I'm a tad late, been dog walking. Yeah, likely story. I think the Johnsons have a few dogs. If you need that cover story, if you need a dog to walk, me too. But then you'd have to get over here to forget that idea. This was supposedly able to do completely asymptomatic, something to do with the mucosal surface. What a delightful picture you paint with you and your mucosal surface this morning, putting people off their breakfast, perhaps, putting people off their pastel de nata this morning. Will, yes, there's a pandemic and we all need to stay safe, says Wayne Barker. I just sit and look at the valley and the hills, take a deep breath and say, but I am in Portugal. That is a very good piece of advice to end on, I think. We'll leave it there this morning and we'll be back tonight on the Portugal show. Topic as yet undecided. There are always a few floating around in my head. As like Monday was fantastic. We did the big question: where to live in Portugal. If there's a particular theme you'd like to discuss tonight on the Portugal show, let me know, and we'll go there. We'll absolutely go there because we're driven by our community's demands and interests. So do let me know what you would like to discuss tonight. But I'll certainly be coming up with something from 10 o'clock Lisbon time. And yeah, Wayne, I think that's wonderful. Counting your blessings. This is what we were talking about last night with Donna Jacqueline. Is if possible, do be grateful. Count your blessings. We are in an amazing country, and as countries go, they're doing a pretty good job. The government here, government's going to govern, aren't they? So, all things considered, many of us are extremely lucky, and we should bear that in mind. And it seems like we're all being turned into sort of Zen monks here at this rate, aren't we? Of exuding gratitude and taking a pause and taking a breath and considering the hills and the valleys in front of us. This is good stuff. This is like a spiritual revolution going on behind the scenes here. So really good advice that, Wayne. And yeah, Gary, agreeing with you. Got it in one, Wayne. And Peggy asking, do you do the Portugal show back here? Yeah, exactly on the same. Yeah, come on, Peggy, join me tonight. Let's have a glass of Prosecco together this evening at 10 o'clock. Come and join me. Let's have a chat. Perhaps you might like to join me and for one of my now legendary expat chats. You and me, we'll have a chat about why you came here, where you live, and the backstory. And I think if you take me up on that offer, we will have a laugh, as will other people who tune in for that. So yes, I agree, Joe. Look, even Joe thinks we're spectacular. Carl and Peggy together on the Expat Chat Show. No, I think you're talking about the hills and valleys, aren't you there, Joe? But you're absolutely right. And Wayne, good shout. You know, let's remember where we are. Let's appreciate where we are, and enjoy being at home if you possibly can. Not always easy for everybody, but if you can, please do. And it's been my delight and pleasure to be with you. And now how do I say my mates in Portugal? Would that be meus pais? I wonder if I've got that right or made a spectacular gaffe as usual with my guesses about the Portuguese language. Take care. Bye for now. See you at 10, possibly with Prosecco Peggy or Lockdown Literal, whichever name she answers to. Take care. Bye for now. Beijinhos. Abrazos. Ciao, ciao.